Story 1: The Haunted Ward. In a small, secluded hospital, there was a ward that had been abandoned for years. Rumors circulated among the staff that the ward was haunted by the spirits of patients who had tragically passed away within its walls. Nurses and doctors would hear disembodied voices, doors would slam shut on their own, and eerie apparitions would appear late at night. One brave nurse decided to investigate and spent a night in the haunted ward. As the hours passed, she witnessed the hospital beds mysteriously moving on their own, heard whispers echoing through the empty halls, and even felt an icy hand brush against her cheek. Terrified, she ran out of the ward, vowing never to return. As the nurse fled from the haunted ward, she couldn't shake off the lingering sense of dread that had consumed her during that night. She tried to rationalize what she had witnessed, but the chilling encounters defied all logical explanations. Haunted by curiosity and a desire to uncover the truth, the nurse sought out the hospital's archives to dig deeper into the history of the abandoned ward. Late nights were spent poring over old patient records, newspaper clippings, and faded photographs. Slowly, she began piecing together the disturbing past of the haunted ward. The records revealed a pattern of inexplicable deaths and unexplained phenomena that had plagued the ward for decades. Patients had reported seeing shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their rooms, while others had experienced sudden drops in temperature and unearthly whispers in the darkness. It seemed that the spirits of those who had suffered within those walls continued to wander, determined to bring closure to the tormented souls. The nurse decided to enlist the help of a renowned paranormal investigator. Together, they embarked on a journey to unravel the mysteries of the haunted ward once and for all. Armed with specialized equipment and their unwavering resolve, they returned to the abandoned ward. The investigator set up motion sensors, infrared cameras, and voice recorders, hoping to capture any evidence of supernatural activity. As the night descended, the air became heavy with an eerie stillness. The investigators' equipment began registering unusual fluctuations in electromagnetic fields and capturing unexplained sounds. They witnessed shadowy figures darting across their vision, wisps of mist materializing out of thin air, and doors opening and closing of their own accord. In one particularly chilling moment, the investigator managed to capture a faint, spectral figure on camera standing in the center of the ward. It appeared as a transparent silhouette emanating an otherworldly aura. But instead of being frightened, the nurse felt a sense of empathy towards these lost souls. She reached out, calling out their names and pleading for them to find peace and release their grip. As her voice resonated through the ward, a serene stillness washed over the room. The figures seemed to shimmer and fade away, as if finally finding solace in her words. The nurse knew that she had helped the spirits move on, breaking the cycle of torment that had haunted the ward for so long. From that day forward, the abandoned ward became a place of tranquility, no longer haunted by the restless spirits. The nurse's courage and compassion had not only set the spirits free, but had also brought closure to a chapter of the hospital's dark history. Word of her remarkable feat spread, and the nurse became a symbol of hope and bravery within the hospital. Though the haunted ward remained empty, Its legacy served as a reminder that sometimes facing our deepest fears can lead to the most profound healing and transformation. Story 2. The Whispering Patient. In a quiet hospital room, a patient named Emily was recovering from a severe accident. However, as night fell, she began hearing strange whispers coming from the corner of the room. The whispers grew louder and more menacing each night, causing Emily's heart to race with fear. The nurses dismissed her claims, believing it was just a side effect of her medication. But one night, Emily woke up to find a shadowy figure standing beside her bed, whispering unintelligible words. She screamed for help, and the nurses rushed in, but the figure vanished without a trace. From that day on, Emily refused to sleep in the hospital room, convinced that a malevolent presence haunted her every night. Desperate for answers and fearing for Emily's well-being, the hospital staff decided to bring in a renowned paranormal expert, Dr. Gabriel Collins. Dr. Collins had dealt with similar cases before and had a reputation for his expertise in dealing with supernatural phenomena. Upon his arrival, Dr. Collins immediately sensed the heavy atmosphere that permeated Emily's hospital room. He set up his equipment, including electronic voice recorders and electromagnetic field detectors, to gather evidence of any paranormal activity. As night fell, the room seemed to take on an even more sinister aura. The air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding filled the space. Dr. Collins and his team observed the room through night vision cameras, ready to document any unexplained occurrences. The whispers that tormented Emily began to resurface, growing louder and more intense. Dr. Collins focused his attention on capturing these eerie sounds, hoping they might hold a clue to the source of the haunting. As he played back the recordings, distorted and unnerving whispers echoed through the speakers, chilling everyone in the room. Determined to confront the malevolent presence head-on, Dr. Collins performed a series of rituals and protective measures. He invoked ancient prayers, burned sage to cleanse the room, and placed talismans believed to ward off evil. But the whispering persisted. In a final attempt to understand and confront the entity, Dr. Collins decided to delve deeper into Emily's medical history. He discovered that the accident that led to her hospitalization had occurred near an old, abandoned cemetery known for its dark history and rumored hauntings. Driven by a hunch, Dr. Collins ventured to the cemetery, accompanied by Emily and a small team of nurses. The moonlit night cast an eerie glow over the tombstones as they carefully explored the burial grounds. As they neared a dilapidated mausoleum, the whispers intensified. Dr. Collins motioned for everyone to pause, and in the silence, a disembodied
"I will
voice
never let her go,"
spoke with clarity
the voice
and
hissed,
malice, summoning every ounce of courage. Dr. Collins confronted the entity, demanding it release Emily from its grip. A cold wind whipped through the air, and the voice grew more furious. But Dr. Collins stood firm, refusing to be intimidated. Suddenly, a blinding light enveloped the mausoleum, casting long shadows across the cemetery. The entity let out a blood-curdling scream before dissipating into thin air. The whispers ceased, and a sense of peace washed over Emily. She could finally sleep soundly without the haunting presence plaguing her dreams. Grateful for Dr. Collins' intervention, Emily returned to the hospital room and bid farewell to the nurses who had supported her. From that day forward, Emily's recovery progressed rapidly, and she eventually left the hospital, leaving the nightmare behind. As for Dr. Collins, he continued his work, dedicated to helping others plagued by supernatural phenomena and ensuring that no one else would suffer the torment Emily had endured. The story of the whispering patient became a legendary tale, a reminder of the unseen forces that can inhabit the shadows and the power of those who dare to confront them. Story: The Disappearing Doctor. Dr. Harris was known for his dedication and fearlessness when it came to investigating unexplained occurrences in the hospital. One day, he received reports of strange happenings in the psychiatric ward. Patients claimed to have seen a ghostly figure wandering the halls, while others spoke of a malevolent force that terrified them in their rooms. Driven by curiosity, Dr. Harris decided to spend the night in the ward, equipped with his camera and a voice recorder. As he conducted his investigation, the temperature dropped, and the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and a chilling wind swept through the corridor. Dr. Harris's voice recorder captured his terrified screams before falling silent. The next morning, when the nurses arrived, Dr. Harris was nowhere to be found. To this day, his disappearance remains a mystery, leaving the hospital staff haunted by the memory of his final investigation. He has turned into weeks, and the mystery of Dr. Harris's disappearance weighed heavily on the hospital staff. The story became the subject of local folklore, whispered among nurses during night shifts, and passed down as a cautionary tale to new hires. Despite the fear that gripped the hospital, a new psychiatrist named Dr. Emma Thompson arrived, determined to uncover the truth behind Dr. Harris's vanishing. She delved into the hospital's archives, studying the accounts of patients and staff who had encountered the ghostly figure in the psychiatric ward. Dr. Thompson's curiosity drove her to retrace Dr. Harris's steps, visiting the exact locations where he had conducted his investigation. She meticulously reviewed the footage captured by his camera and listened intently to the recordings from his voice recorder, hoping to find any clues that might shed light on his disappearance. Late one evening, while listening to an audio recording from that fateful night, Dr. Thompson noticed a faint whisper in the background. It was an almost imperceptible voice, barely audible over the sounds of Dr. Harris's frightened screams. Determined to decipher its meaning, she enhanced the audio and played it over and over again. After numerous attempts, the words finally became clear. The door of the intrigued and unnerved, Dr. Thompson followed the cryptic clue, leading her to a forgotten section of the psychiatric ward. There, hidden behind a rusty metal door, she discovered a secret chamber that had long been sealed off from the rest of the hospital. As she cautiously stepped inside, the air grew heavy with an otherworldly presence. Strange symbols adorned the walls, and an eerie glow emanated from an old, worn-out book lying on a pedestal in the center of the room. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, Dr. Thompson opened the book and began to read the words etched within its ancient pages. The text spoke of a dark ritual performed years ago by a deranged doctor, Dr. Malcolm Jacobs, who had been obsessed with uncovering the secrets of life and death. So it became clear to Dr. Thompson that Dr. Harris's investigation had inadvertently awakened the vengeful spirit of Dr. Jacobs, who had vowed to trap anyone who dared to delve into his sinister experiments. Determined to free Dr. Harris and put an end to the malevolent spirit's reign of terror, Dr. Thompson meticulously followed the instructions in the book to perform a counter-ritual. As she completed the ritual, a surge of energy filled the chamber. The air crackled with a blend of fear and anticipation. Suddenly, a blinding light enveloped the room, dispelling the darkness and revealing Dr. Harris, unconscious but alive, lying on the chamber floor. With the spirit of Dr. Jacobs banished, Dr. Thompson helped Dr. Harris regain his strength and escorted him out of the secret chamber. The hospital staff rejoiced at his return, relieved to have closure after the months of uncertainty. Dr. Harris, forever changed by his ordeal, decided to retire from investigating the supernatural. However, he passed the torch to Dr. Thompson, recognizing her determination and bravery in uncovering the truth. Together, they worked tirelessly to protect the hospital from the lurking spirits and ensure that no one else would suffer the same fate. Dr. Thompson became renowned for her expertise in paranormal phenomena, offering solace and understanding to those haunted by the unknown. The story of Dr. Harris's disappearance and the subsequent battle against Dr. Jacobs became a legendary tale, whispered among hospital staff for generations. It served as a constant reminder that curiosity could lead to great danger, but also that courage and determination could triumph over the darkest forces, bringing light and peace back to the hospital's halls.